Welcome everybody to the fourth session of our webinar series on presentation skills. You know me by now, my name is Karen, and today I'm here with my colleague Vincent Odero from GIZ in Kenya, and we're very happy to facilitate this session for you. We've been together for quite some time already. We started in January with our journey on presentation skills. We talked about some basics, body language, and the elevator pitch. Then you had some time to practice this. And in February, we continued with the format of a 5-minute presentation, so like a short format. We also talked about some basics regarding PowerPoint and the use of artificial intelligence. And last month, we covered the specific format of Pecha Kucha, and we also spoke about the magic of photos. And today we're actually really excited to hear some of these presentations. And after that, we will continue with a new format. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. As I've said, we will listen to our volunteers. And then we will go into this format of 15-minute presentation, which is a bit longer and more in-depth than like 5 minutes. And we will also give you some tips and tricks about design. We already talked a bit about PowerPoint and design in the past, but we want to give you some more in-depth information. And then we will also present a short input on how to create handouts and what you should take care of when you create handouts. And after that, we will select one volunteer for next month. Since we're talking about 15 minutes presentation, I think we only need one, but maybe you can already think about it if you would like to volunteer for next month. So now I think we can go right to the part where we listen to our volunteers. And as always, everybody else also has a task while listening. Please take a pen and a paper or write down on your computer your feedback regarding all aspects of the presentation, be it content, the way of presenting, and note down positive parts to let the speakers know what they should continue or what was well perceived, but also maybe points to be improved.
Okay, wait, let me share my screen. All right, greeting everyone. My name is Sabrina, and currently I'm working as a project officer at Plan Indonesia for this program supported by IKI Small Grant called as Youth Lead Initiative for Gender Responsive Climate Action and Participation in Marginalized Community. In this occasion, I would like to share my story, my awakening story, because when I actually focus on environmental issues. So before, I was growing up in Surabaya. Surabaya is really well known for a city that is fast-paced and really super hot. Like one person, you have one sun for yourself. When you live in that kind of environment, for me, having privileges, comfort has become the number one. So my room was always cool because my IC was almost always on. And it feels really normal because I never really question how my action will actually have some impact on the climate. So it becomes something really automatic with something that I never really stop. Yeah, that habit. So basically, I don't really be mindful with the energy resources that is around me. I just throw my food if I'm not finishing it, and I'm just turning on the TV even though I don't watch it, and just to keep me company. And when I not really finish my food, and then I just take it away using a takeaway. And it has changed ever since I'm joining this as a project executive of Greeny Green back in 2021. I was appointed as one of the project executive for Greeny Green, which is an SDG 13 focus project. And in this experience, I'm not really expecting that being an executive here will have a big impact on me. I was becoming a partner development executive. So during that time, I actually had the opportunity to meet many inspiring people, expert, mentors, and through all of the occasion that I talk with them, it actually giving me a lot of insights, which is when I entering the field and seeing the real situation in our environment, that's when I noticed that this issue is really urgent. I saw many plastic waste above the river, and then there are not much water anymore because of this plastic has built up in the river. And because of that, I learned something that with this many plastic which is creating emission, this emission will become having a greenhouse gas effect, which is actually can have an impact in the the polar region, and it can actually cause them to losing their home. And starting that, I bring that experience to actually slowly change my habit. I try to transform my habit. I started bringing on my own bottle, trying to compose my food waste, and being mindful with my energy use. If I don't use it, I just turn it off. And it wasn't really, no, I will not always 100% doing that, but little by little, I know that it can actually shape my life. And it's become my awakening. Perhaps the other people issues, we haven't really transformed our habit because we just lack of awareness about how urgent is this issue. So my mission is I want to become a person that is having the first person to actually spark this conversation, to actually raise the awareness to my friends and also my family, because they like previously I wasn't really take action because it's just simply I don't have the awareness. So through all this awakening, I want to actually enhance it and bring it to other people. And throughout in my previous project Greeny Green 10.0, even though that this project is only during the COVID-19, which was everything is only held virtually, but I can see the impact is really big, and many people actually felt the same thing with me. They started to recognize and change their habit and becoming mindful with the environmental problem after joining our organization. So that's makes me, after the Greeny Green project, I joined many environmental organization as well as the environmental campaign to actually enhance myself to become more still to still open the light of my insight on climate, will also still meet many inspiring beings to become the same thing. And then I become the project officer professionally in this environmental pathway as project officer of Urban Nexus. And this experience also I had to many opportunity to mentor as well as facilitated many young people. But since in my previous project we were more focused on youth in urban region, and I work closely with them. I help them to actually conduct their own climate event and activity programs, which eventually they also created the same habit or transition, the transformation. From me, we can actually slowly can spark the love the environment movement. And through all this experience, it's really amazing because yeah, so many people actually started to become more mindful with what is happening in behind them and also yeah beside them. And and yeah, but the problem is urban youth is really the person is in urban youth, we have many easy access to actually connected to the internet. But ever since I'm joining and becoming the project officer in this program, which is focused on more the marginalized community, the I can see how the farmer really struggle in the rural area, and then how the information is not really spread correctly to them, or the information is not spread fastly compared to the urban region. So with that mission, I still want to help these people and also make the environmental movement to become a bigger thing with a bigger impact. And I believe that when it is everything is going back to you, when we want to change the world, yeah, be I heard one line is like, be the changes you want to see this world. And maybe it's actually start with the awareness and grow through action, and the changes is must start within yourself. Then after you change yourself, you can inspire those people around you. I think that's all for me. I'm so sorry for my thick accent. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the importance of connectivity for biodiversity. In this picture, at the background, you can see a red line, which indicates the equator line, which is a line that connects the north uh, hemisphere with the south hemisphere of the world. Okay, so Ecuador is located in South America, and South America is connected through the Andes, which is 8,000 kilometers long. And as you get closer to the Ecuadorian line, biodiversity is going to increase. Um, all right. So Ecuador has two main mountain ranges formed by the Andes. One of them is the West Mountain Range, and the other one is the East Mountain Range. In between of them, we have the Interandean Valley. All right. So thanks to this, we get to form three regions. Okay. So the one is the coast, for which includes the beach. The other one is the highlands, and the other is the Amazonic region, which are lowlands full of water, rivers, and biodiversity. All right, so here we can see how it looks, the beach, the highlands, and the Amazon region. Okay, so they are all connected mainly through water. All right, so the heat comes from the ocean, and it helps the trees to sweat and generate clouds. Okay, so these clouds collide with mountains, and then we can get water into our rivers. All right, so how we want to connect the two of these mountain ranges is through a very thin line. In these circles, you can see two of the main cities of Ecuador, and we have the opportunity to connect through this thin line. All right, here you can see how it looks like. You can see that's one of the mountain ranges, that's the other mountain range, and in between we can see a very big city that the population is about 3 million people. All right, so it's kind of a challenge. Here you can see how the mountains become islands, and actually these are volcanoes that are surrounded by city, and it's very interesting because it looks like islands but surrounded of city instead of water. All right, so here we have two main volcanoes from Ecuador, I'm sorry. One of them is Ilinizas and the other is Cotopaxi. And we want to help biodiversity from the coast to connect with the biodiversity of Amazonic region. All right. So here we can see another picture. That's Cotopaxi, that's Ilinizas, and the opportunity to connect them both is through these three mountains that are actually a small volcano called Chaupi, which means center in our native language. All right. So we have lost the relationship between a human and nature, and especially with pumas, which used to be a symbol of strength in our ancient cultures. All right. This is how it looks right now, the system of national areas in Ecuador. The ones in green and those in orange are some biocorridors, and we want to connect through the Puma biocorridor all of these areas, okay? Um, pumas are actually at the top of the trophic chain. This means that pumas are able to eat all of the animals here, and it's amazing because they adapt from 0 meters above sea level to 5,000 meters above sea level, so they can cover all the regions that we have here. This is a new from Monga Bay that, well, it's in Spanish, but I translate it and it says, when water returned to the highlands, also deer and pumas came back. So this is the relationship it has with connectivity and ecosystems, all right? So the food for the pumas, most of the times they are mammals like deers or weasels or rabbits, which are very small mammals. Um, so here we can see a video of a trail camera of a puma here in the highlands. And puma shows the how is the health of ecosystem. So if pumas come back, water is also going to come back, and this is how we want our highlands to look, with water that later we can use for our consume as to drink, or hydroelectrics as well. And this is what we want to do. We want to create a bridge to connect, to help these animals and other animals to go from the coast to the Amazon, passing through the highlands. All right, that highlands acts as a natural barrier. Okay, so we want also to create a mini documentary, and this is the puma that inspired us. He's going to be called Shunku, which means heart in our language, and this is the result. As I was telling you, we want to connect, help the pumas from the coast to connect with the pumas from the Amazon. All right, so this is my presentation, and thank you very much.
Well, thanks. Good morning. Today I will present our project on sustainable agriculture practice to protect pollinators in the Mayan forest. Pollinators are essential for biodiversity, for food production and ecosystem health, but they are increasingly threatened by agricultural expansion. In the Yucatan Peninsula, industrial agriculture is rapidly expanding. Large monocultures, especially transgenic soy production, are replacing forests, reducing biodiversity and destroying natural habitats. This directly affects pollinators and also impacts local communities that depend on healthy ecosystems. A clear example is the massive bee mortality reported in Campeche. Ecosur, for example, confirmed that insecticide used in nearby agricultural fields affect 22 apiaries and 500 beehives, causing several economic losses, reduced honey production, and damage to pollinating service. To respond to this problem, we are implementing a two-year project focused on promoting sustainable agriculture and strengthening local policy agreements. The goal is to protect pollinator habitats and support biodiversity conservation across the Mayan forest region. This project is being implemented in both Guatemala and Mexico. In Mexico, we start by working directly with producers to understand their agricultural practices, their challenges, and how they perceive sustainability in their own production system. We use a participatory approach instead of imposing solutions. Farmers share their experience, the practice they already use, and the barrier they face. This helps us design strategies based on local knowledge and realistic agriculture conditions. We identify key sustainable practices such as crop diversification, reduced pesticide use, soil conservation, agroecological management, and these actions improve productivity while reducing environmental damage and protecting pollinators populations. We organize practical workshops with products focused on sustainable agriculture. One important activity was preparing a natural biopreparation for pest control using local ingredients. This helps farmers learn activities to learn alternatives to chemical pesticides for managing the main pests affecting their crops, while protecting pollinators and soil health. We also held a participatory workshop where producers share how agriculture was practiced by their grandfathers, by their parents, and how they work today. This allows us to understand how farming has changed over the time, especially by the increased use of chemicals and the gradual loss of traditional sustainable practices. We carry out pollinators monitoring, like a community thing. So producers could observe how many different pollinators visit their crops, where we compare areas where sustainable practices are applied and areas where they are not. This gives them practical tools to understand how this practice help conservation pollinators and in crop. We also provide a workshop on production costs. Producers learn how to identify operational expenses, calculate how much it costs to produce 1 unit of their product, and estimate profit margins. This gives them more certainty when setting prices and helps improve their economic decision makings. The next step on the project is to strengthen public policy agreements with municipality, institutions, and local actors. And this sustainable agriculture must be supported not only by farmers, but also by stronger local government, and that protects biodiversity and ensure long-term conservation across all the region. So we think that promoting this sustainable agriculture practice today means ensuring healthy ecosystem and strong communities tomorrow. This protective pollination is not only environmental conservation, but also in investment in food security, biodiversity, and the future of the Mayan forest. So thank you.
I will start. When I was a little girl, it was difficult for me to make friendship. I often stood aside watching other children play together, not knowing how to join them. This feeling of loneliness in childhood was quite heavy for me and lasted until I went to school. There, I finally met my big group of friends. We connected almost immediately and became very close in a short time. More than 30 years have passed since then. Even the war and the fact that many of us are now scattered across different countries hasn't broken our bond. We still keep in regular contact, support each other, and frequently bring each other's professional expertise and skills into our projects and work. Looking back at this experience, I realized one very important truth. One person can achieve a lot, but when like-minded people come together, our capabilities multiply many times over. True strength is always born within a community of people who share the same values and vision. In 2019, we decided to bring this principle into practice and created the first 3 energy innovation hubs at Ukrainian technical universities. Each hub became a special place where students, professors, researchers, and experts could meet, exchange ideas, and work together on solutions in the field of energy efficiency. Inside these hubs, new ideas are constantly being born, practical experience is shared between different generations, and real applicable projects are developed. Over the years, we have grown from 3 to 8 energy innovation hubs, and we continue to actively expand this network across the country. Today, these hubs have become real centers of knowledge and expertise in energy efficiency in their respective regions. They actively help local universities, municipalities, and businesses implement modern approaches and reducing energy consumption and increasing efficiency. However, perhaps the most important role these hubs play is their contribution to reconstruction of Ukraine after the war. They are already preparing a new generation of highly qualified specialists who will be directly involved in rebuilding of our country in the coming years. The energy innovation hubs create an effective platform for continuous exchanging of knowledge and the best practices between different regions in Ukraine. Thanks to this network, successful solutions and technologies can be quickly adapted and implemented throughout the country. In essence, we are not just creating separate hubs. We're building a powerful, united network that works for Ukraine's sustainable future. We clearly see how these hubs already are turning into real drivers of changes in the field of energy efficiency across the regions. Our big goal is to have such energy innovation hubs in every region of Ukraine, forming a strong nationwide network. That is why today we invite other universities to join this initiative and create their own hubs. And also we are also open to cooperation with international partners who share our vision. Together we can achieve much more for Ukraine and beyond. Thank you.
Yes. So thank you very much. That was great. I'm really happy we had these two wonderful presentations today. And I'm just looking at the time. I think we can do one little exercise on our next topic. Oops, we want to speak about 15 minutes presentation. So I would hand over to Vincent now. And we will do a little exercise together, and then we can all have a short break.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Karin, for that good introduction. And I want to thank very much our presenters for the good presentations. So as mentioned, my name is Vincent Odero. I work for GIZ in Kenya, supporting IKI Small Grants activities here in Kenya. And in this presentation skills, I'm now joining my colleague Karin for the next 3 sessions of these training sessions. So welcome everyone, and feel at home. We want to make it very engaging. So having looked at those 2 presentations, we just want to see today how can somebody prepare a 15 minutes presentation. I know in many occasions we normally have to do these presentations, maybe when we are pitching for to our donors, maybe looking for funds, when we are presenting our results for the work we are doing as projects to the wider community or partners. So presentation becomes a very key component in our daily operations of projects. So therefore, it's just good to learn a few hints on how we can make a good presentation in 15 minutes. Just before we go deep dive into that, I want us to just do a simple exercise. And in this simple exercise, we just want to see or learn from your experiences as people or as organizations. So we just have 2 key questions here. Maybe I'll read them out and then give you some time to just reflect on them. We'd really be glad to get your feedback on the 2 questions. So one of the questions is that, when was the last time you listened to somebody speak for 15 minutes? And if you remember, what was that occasion? The second question is, what made it easy or difficult for you to follow a longer presentation the last time you had to or listen to or follow a longer presentation? So we would like to get your comments on the 2 questions, your experiences. We give you 2 or 3 minutes to reflect on it, and then we can share what we have as our experiences on the 2 questions. Thank you very much, Amar, and the team for sharing with us your experiences. That really looks very good. And I think these are the real issues that normally we see in most of the presentations. And having looked at this, now we want to just look at what are some of the hints that we can use to ensure that we prepare our presentations within 15 minutes and make it better for our audience. I will take the shortest time possible because most of these things we already learned in the previous sessions. So just having looked at the two presentations and also the views on the two questions, just as now a recap on the general hints that we can use going forward in working on our presentations. One of the hints is that it's good to know your audience, and we've seen how this is important. When you know your audience, it will be easier for you to tailor your presentation to fit the audience that you want to address. The second issue is that you also need to have a very informative title. In a presentation, title matters. So how you structure your title is very important. You need to have a title that is catchy, a title that speaks to what you want to convey in your presentation. The other issue that is important is that you need to be focused as a presenter. You should be able to set your stage very well so that you are able to also resonate with your audience. This is very critical. Sometimes we've seen people present and then they look like they were ambushed to do the presentations. I think preparation and being focused is really key. As a hint, you can always use a story just to tell your audience what you want to speak to. You can use a story to convey a message. So that is also a very good hint. It is also prudent that you test and practice your presentation so that you are able to time yourself well. You need to know the number of slides that you're gonna present. So as we normally say, practice makes perfect. When you do proper practice and proper preparation, you'll feel confident. You will feel, in control of the presentation. So this is very critical. Timing is of essence when you are doing such a presentation within a very limited time and you want to convey still an important message. We always recommend that try to always be realistic as possible, always in your presentation. Do not create an expectation that you cannot fulfill. Always use good body language, and the way you also show up, should be considered very professional. So those are very important hints that we can adapt or use going forward as we seek to do such presentations. Let us now look at how can we prepare a 15 minutes presentation? What do we need to consider as we prepare a 15 minutes presentation? Very quickly, one of the key things that we've seen even from the previous presenters is that your key message needs to be very well defined because you only have limited time to convey whatever you need to do. So always ensure that you package your key message very well, be able to define your core message so that this goes out clearly to your participants that this is the message that you really wanted to pass out. You need to create a very simple structure and outline so that your presentation should the flow should be coherent, people should be able to follow. At some point, people come up with presentations that you can never make neither make the head of or tail of it. So it becomes very confusing. So we recommend that you have a simple structure, a simple outline with a very clear or a clarity on the agenda that you want to speak to. We also recommend that as much as possible, please try to avoid use of technical jargons. If you have very technical things, maybe you can seek to put links to those so that your participants can later on and go to the links and then they have more information that you needed to do. But within a 15 minutes presentation, you really need to avoid use of such technical jargons that can also be confusing to your audience. It is also very important that you have an effective summary and also conclusion. As we said, some people might only be the summary is what they might remember, how you summarized your work. I remember the presentation from the gentleman from Ecuador, how he summarized it very well, just using a photo. That stuck into my mind. It was a nice summary, just using a picture format, and that is really awesome. So how you end your presentation also matters. Ensure that you have a very effective summary and a good conclusion, where you also summarize your key points and the key messages. Just as a hint, you can always end your conclusion with a strong closing thought, or rather a call for action. So that will be very powerful. Last but not least, it's just good as you prepare your presentation to also have a backup plan. Anything can happen. So a backup plan is very critical. Ensure that you save your slides in multiple formats, and always be ready to present without slides. And therefore, the issue of preparing yourself and practicing becomes very critical. Also, just ensure that you have some printouts just in case the power fails, then you can still proceed with your presentation. So a backup plan is very key in this aspect. Yes. So talking about hints, how do we structure this kind of a presentation so that we are able to fit within the very limited time frame that we have? So we suggest that, of course, you have to have an introduction, and then, of course, the details, and later on the summary. So at the introduction level, always purpose to start with a very energizing start. This helps you to draw the attention of your audience towards what you're saying. So even as you introduce yourself and your organization, that energized start is very, very critical. You can, as we said, you can maybe have a very nice opening remark, or a nice short story that just draws the attention of your audience. We call it setting the climate. It's very critical. You need to make the problem of the background of your presentation very clear. People need to relate to what you are speaking to, so they need to understand what is the background, what is the problem that you are seeking to solve. This should be very, very clear. What are the means through which you want to solve this problem? The planned or purposed activities needs to be very clearly articulated. You'd also expect you to communicate the results very clearly in your presentation, so people are sure these are the results or the benefits of this project or program. This needs to be very clearly communicated. And as we said also earlier on, that how you sum it up is very important. You need to package very well the key message in your summary, so that this goes out very clearly to your audience. Just quickly, like how you can maybe structure in terms of time allocations. So this is just our proposal. We are not saying that this is the textbook precision to how to do it, but it's just a proposal that can also guide you. For instance, in your introduction, maybe you can just take like a minute and maybe use of pictures. Sometimes it's very commendable because it saves time. You can also, in terms of your agenda, you can just take 1 minute to highlight the agenda of the discussion. And here you can use a table format. In terms of introduction, you can also take like 2 minutes, where we encourage you can use photos, as we've seen in the Pecha Kucha presentations. You can use a question, a short video, infographics. All this is recommended. Your problem statement, maybe you can also take 2 minutes. Maybe use of maps, videos, and pictures can also help you shorten this. The solutions that you seek to offer should be very clear. So here you need to spend like 2 minutes also to pass out the solutions. Use of pictures, infographics can also help you, shorten this. When it comes to insights and those activities that you're planning, also 2 minutes is enough to highlight the activities. Maybe you can also use the maps as we saw Ricardo use, as pictures or video. Same two results. You can take 2 minutes because people will be interested to see what are the outcomes. So yeah, you can take like 3 minutes to just elaborate on the results of your projects. And lastly, as you summarize, you package the key messages and the key information. This can take like 2 minutes, and you can also stick to, your use, pictures or infographics or any format that you can, do within the 2 minutes, so long as the message is well packaged and is well communicated to the audience. And lastly, in any presentation setup, we would expect your participants to always ask questions, give comments. So just as few tips here on how you can also manage the session for Q&A. Number one is that you need to have proper control of your audience. As the presenter, you need to be on top of things so that you don't have everybody speaking at their own time, and people should be orderly. You need to you can take one question at a time, or you can also seek to cluster the questions and then answer them later on, so depending on the time. So this will help you ensure that things are in control. It is always advisable that you don't read the question as asked. Maybe you need to seek to rephrase the question, and then make sure that as you rephrase it, it is easier for the other audience to also understand what was asked, so that even as you respond to the questions, people can easily follow through what you are saying. It's a good practice to always acknowledge good questions from your audience or participants. And we're not saying that you don't acknowledge the ones that you don't see as good as well. So it's good to always acknowledge questions from your participants, and as a way of inspiring them also. And lastly, also ensure that you keep your answers, your answers to the questions very short and very precise, that it is easier for your participants or your audience to follow on the answers to the questions. So I think these are tips that can be helpful. This is not an exhaustive list on how you can go about the 15 minutes presentation, but these are just general hints that can help you, structure your presentation, manage the presentation itself, and also the entire occasion. So from my end, I want to thank you very much for taking time to listen through. And now I want to take it back to my colleague, Karin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Vincent now focused a lot on the content of the presentation, and I would like to take another 10 minutes to look at the design. So some tips and tricks for designing for impact. We talked about designing slides and using PowerPoint a bit in the past, and there were some discussions and questions. So I thought, okay, let's look a bit into cognitive science, how the human brain actually works, and what works best for your audience to perceive your presentation well. So let's start with number one. The human brain is visual. There is something that is called the picture superiority effect, and it says that if you hold a presentation and you only have text and voice, after 3 days, people will only remember about 10% of what you have said. But if you add to your text some visuals, then people will remember up to 65% of your message after 3 days. But you need to be careful, because the picture needs to match what you are saying, because there's also the information that visuals are processed about 60,000 times faster than text. So people will look at your slide, they immediately look at the picture, and then if they have time, they also maybe look at text and they listen to you. So it should match. It should not distract, but match what you are saying. So the best thing is images plus words, not too many words. This is better than words alone. So ideal would be like one powerful image, not too many, so it doesn't distract people, for emotion and visualization, then a keyword as a cognitive anchor, and then your voice for the details. And as I've said, you need to be careful because we want to avoid cognitive overload. There is something, it's called the cognitive load theory and the redundancy principle. Cognitive load theory, CLT, is an instructional design framework that explains how the brain processes and retains information by managing the limitations of working memory. Now, I don't know who of you was able to read and listen at the same time, because I wrote down everything that I've said, and cognition science actually says that it's not possible for people to really listen and read at the same time. So once you start reading, you do not listen anymore. So let's try this again. I adapt the slide. Do not read your slides. This basically causes a mental traffic jam for most people, text and speech at the same time. So what you should do, or what you can do, is just use like central keywords instead of long texts or bullet points. So use the slide for visual anchors and use your voice for the story. And what you can see now, basically just one main message and a lot of empty space around it, leads us to the next advice. The next advice is called let the message breathe. And it comes from the signaling principle, which says that white space is not wasted space. Also, breaks are not wasted time. But if you have a presentation and you use a lot of white space, it is a tool. So by removing a lot of clutter, you signal, for example, to a partner or to a donor, I am focused and I am professional. I know what is essential. If you have a lot of visual noise, so too many pictures, too many writing, and so on, it can actually cause a lower trust in your management capabilities. So it's better really to focus on what is important, basically on the 1% that really matters of all the information that you receive. And yeah, that leads us directly to another question of focus, and this is about how you can present impact with data or with graphs. And there was a scientist called Tufte, and he invented the data ink ratio, and he says you want to make the impact pop, so stand out, and this is what you can do by minimizing non-data ink. So here you see a graphic, for example, greenhouse gas emissions in your project area, before your project started, 1 year after, and 5 years later. But you can see there are a lot of information on the slide. You have the shadows, you have the different lines, and this is distracting. So what you should do is remove grids, 3D effects, and legends that are not necessary, and then really highlight the key result in a contrasting color. So this can look like that. And then you would only show this one graph without all the distraction. And then, of course, you speak. You still have your voice to accompany it, but it will really lead the attention to what you want to show, the impact. Then we also have the psychology of persuasion. Of course, most of the time when you present, you want to convince someone to do something, to work with you, or maybe to fund you. And there's something, it's called the identifiable victim effect. Of course, we don't want to speak about victims. We spoke about this the other day. We want to avoid victimization. We want to show people taking their faith into their hands and managing their future. But the effect that has been invented quite some time ago is still works the same way also with active people. And it says that stories work better than statistics. So you should focus on one and not on the million. Joseph Stalin, who was a horrible manipulator, he said a single death is a tragedy, a million deaths is a statistics. So really, if you draw the attention to one person, or if you work with environment, it can also be to the one puma or to one specific tree, and you speak about saving or supporting this one individual, people are more likely to support your cause than if you speak about 1,000. Yeah, they're more likely to trigger immediate action, and also with fundraising, people are more likely to donate money for one individual than for many people. And then some hints on building trust with your layout, with your design. Just very quickly, color psychology. Green and blue usually stand for stability or for nature, whereas orange or red rather stand for urgent calls to action. I mean, of course, this also depends a bit on the cultural context, and also on the specific color that you use. I mean, like a bright and friendly orange can also be very energetic and friendly, but usually red is rather really alerting people, and blue and green calms people down. Then dark text on light background is best for readability, but studies also show that it builds more trust. People feel comfortable when they can easily read, and then they also trust in you as a presenter or as an organization more. And that's the same for the fonts. If you use simple fonts like Arial or Montserrat without serifs, so without the little ends at each letter, this is also better for readability and for building trust. And last but not least, the one slide, one idea rule. We heard this when we collected the positive points. If you have 3 points, use 3 slides. Slides are for free. You know, so if you have an important information, just put it like individually on one slide, and then the next information on the next slide. And I know we often do it other ways, in a different way, putting a lot of information on one slide, but for the brain, it's easier to digest it in this way. So to summarize it, we have the picture superiority effect. People remember more information when pictures are added, and they process pictures faster than text. We have the cognitive load theory. People cannot listen and read at the same time, so avoid putting them into this situation. We have the signaling principle. You draw the attention to the information that is really important by using space. You have the data ink ratio, so remove all ink that is not necessary to convey your message. And we have the identifiable victim, or maybe identifiable hero effect. And just some general advice and conclusions. Your slides are not your script. Don't put everything on your script. Consistency in fonts and colors builds trust. Simplicity reduces cognitive load and appears more professional. And we've talked about this in the other sessions also. Of course, strong, authentic images create also empathy and an emotional connection. And one last little hint, if you really want to draw the attention to you as a speaker and not to the presentation, you can use the B key on your keyboard, and then the presentation basically turns all black, and usually all the eyes go back to you as a presenter. So this is what you can also use if you want to say something very important and you don't want people to be distracted at all. You really want them to look at you. Okay, thank you for the attention. Now I just have 2 more slides on handouts. Because, I mean, of course, what happens when you do a presentation where you do not include all the text and you just have like pictures or a few words, then creating handouts is also a different challenge. I mean, often people, they just send you the slides and this is basically a handout. But if you don't include all the information on the slides, then you should put a bit more effort into your handouts. So how can you create a handout? Just on the technical side, for example, with PowerPoint, you can export different types of handouts by clicking on File and then on export, and then create handouts. And then you can select different types of handouts. So, I mean, usually you have your slides, and then below you have your speaking notes. And then you can select if you want a handout where you just have one slide and the speaking notes below, or maybe you just have like empty lines below. This is what you can also do in a training context when you hand out the handouts in advance and you want people to note down what they've learned by themselves. But you can also put the slides on one side and then have the speaking notes next to it or empty lines next to it. So then you click on OK, and basically your handout will be created in Word, and then you can still edit it. Of course, if your speaking notes are already perfectly prepared, you just export it and it's done. But often after exporting, you will still adapt it and maybe add some more information. It is important that you do not replicate your presentation, but complement it with the handout. You should leave room for notes, or you can leave room for notes. And of course, a handout is also a chance for providing additional deep dive details. So if you have 5 minutes or you have 15 minutes, often, especially if you're an expert, it's always too little time. So you can include your contact details, but of course, additional resources, references, and links to further readings in your handout. And do not forget to include photo credits and other references, because we often work with information from other people or pictures from other photographers, and we should definitely acknowledge them. Okay, so your handout should also serve as a standalone resource. So a good handout would also work for someone who has not listened to your presentation at all. And that was it from our side. Thank you so much for your attention. So as a short wrap up, we covered or we repeated the Pecha Kucha presentation today by listening to our 2 wonderful volunteers, and we gave some feedback, so we all learned some more together. And then we talked about the 15-minute presentation today, what you should consider regarding the content, how you can structure the content. And after that, we looked a bit into cognition science and what works best, how to convey your audience and how to keep their attention. And then we also spoke about how to develop a nice handout, what you should keep in mind, that it will really become a helpful tool for your audience. Now we have a volunteer for next month, and we look forward to next month's sessions, which will be about interviews and speaking on a panel. So this is again a very interesting topic, which will hopefully help you in your day-to-day work. And yes, thank you very much. Thank you to Vincent, my co-facilitator for today. And for the next sessions. And thank you all for your wonderful participation, all your questions, all your inputs and experiences. And we already look forward to seeing you again in May. Have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.